we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, let us know about a topic you wanted to hear, or let us know about a past episode that you wanted to talk about. Questions, comments, concerns. We always want to hear about it. Hit us up in the DMs or in the comments on YouTube if you're watching. If you are watching, like and subscribe on YouTube. Remember, share with your friends. Tell everyone you know. If you ever want to support the podcast, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. Welcome everyone. Welcome back to another great episode, or another episode of the Bigmark podcast. I shouldn't make the call as I'm recording it. I mean, you know, they're all great. I love doing these, and it's always fun. But I'll let the listener decide. No, but it's a super fun episode today. It's another part 2 episode. You know, we're almost at 180 episodes so far, and I feel like even a lot of the newer listeners we have started to join us a little bit later. So I'm kind of revisiting some of the earlier episodes I've done before, because I'm still interested in this shit, and you know, still ripping, and it is the season. You know, we're talking about golf today, and it's the season, at least here in Canada, where I'm at in Hamilton. We don't really get that long of a season in Hamilton, Ontario, and Canada in general. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's been extended quite a bit. I mean, I think I played like December 17th or something last year, surprisingly. So that's like really late, but usually you see a lot of golfers fall off in the fall, pun intended, I guess. I mean, it's not always super fun playing golf in the fall. You're contending with the leaves and can't find your ball, but I love fall golf. I mean, I'm used to playing football outside in that weather from August to November kind of thing. So I thrive in that. I love it a little cooler, because I usually sweat like a motherfucker anyway, so it's nice to not be sweating to death. You don't have to contend with bugs. It's pretty sweet, man. And some courses are actually really, really good about leaf management, if you will. And again, if you can kind of play long enough into the season when all the leaves are more or less dealt with, like, it's pretty good. It's another weird thing. I mean, you know, because the season is always so short, because you can't usually start playing until April at best. I mean, again, we were lucky this year that we had a little bit of a heat wave early, and some courses open, but then I think they closed back down because it kind of got cold again, at least in my area here in Ontario, Southern Ontario. But because the season's so short, like, I'm always so surprised that we don't do night golf here in Hamilton or in the area at all. Like, I don't know anything. I don't know of any places that it's a full course. I mean, there's some ranges that'll turn the lights on and let people kind of go a little bit later. But like, apart from like excess light pollution that could like fuck with like neighboring people, and people might complain and be like, I don't want all these fucking lights. Like, there's no way you couldn't make up the extra hydro that it would cost from having that many more golfers. Like, you could have tee times like starting at 9 p.m. That would be fucking sick. Could you imagine? And then guys are playing. So it's a super interesting thing. I mean, hopefully if you're still listening to this episode and you don't know anything about golf, I applaud you. You know, we're going to be talking about everything about, you know, kind of this, that, and the other about what golf is all about. But if you don't know what night golf is, I mean, it's golf that's lit up. They just line the courses with like stadium lighting, basically. Oh my God, it would be fucking sick. It'd be so sick. I don't know. I don't understand why we do it. Why we don't do it, I should say. But again, like I said, for the people who are listening who don't really know too much about golf, I mean, golf's been around for quite some time. Not really going to get into the specifics of it, but you know, it's a game. It's inherently a game in the sense that, you know, it's, you know, I'm not saying that it's not a sport. I'm just saying it's a game in the absolute definition of the word of a game, because you're making a very simple act, getting a ball into a hole, very, very difficult. You're trying to now hit it into a ball into a hole, with like a stick, a broken stick, like a stick with like a little like metal end on it. It's outside. There's hills. There's water. There's trees. There's grass. There's all these things in between. So you're just like making a simple action more difficult. And that's the very, very bare bones essence of what a game is. But there's something about golf that is extremely difficult. Yes. It's almost a game that few will master. I mean, there's a lot of professionals out there, and there's always been a lot of professionals, but the disparity between professionals and amateurs is one that I've never really seen in any other sport. I mean, major sport, I guess. I know that there's some sports out there that, you know, equipment varies dramatically, but I don't know who's doing like pickup bobsled or anything like that. But like, you know, even those Olympians are technically considered amateurs, but let's not get into that. But out of the major sports, and we'll throw golf into the mix today, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, you know, all those. The difference between the skill of the amateur, and I'm talking about all the way up until like semi-pro. So like there's scratch golfers out there that are just fucking sick and they just go out with their buddies, have a few beers. But until you're like actually officially like a professional or semi-professional, where you're getting paid for doing that, you're an amateur. So it can go pretty high. Like basketball, you can see some tournaments out there where people are paying to play. Like it's not professional at all. But you're seeing some of these guys out there playing in tournaments that are excellent ball players that just have like fucking day jobs or, you know, are teachers or whatever. And there's not a huge difference between those guys and the guys in the NBA. Yeah, maybe there's like a height difference, probably majorly, number one. But again, it's about opportunity. It's about, you know, I've played with guys, some of my friends, some of my teammates have had opportunities to go down to try out to in the NFL, and they're like, every other guy ahead of me was just as good or better. You couldn't even tell the difference. Like there's so many people out there that are very talented that aren't officially professionals. But again, you don't see that. Like even in beer leagues and shit, man, like fucking intramurals, like there's guys that are great hockey players that, again, maybe just there's one aspect of their game that is lacking, or they didn't have the funds, or they're a head case, or something's wrong, and they're not a professional. So there's not a huge leap. And it's even funnier, like talking about different levels too. Like my buddy who played in the CFL for years, he said that the leap from high school to university is huge. It is a big jump. Like that is hard to overcome. But the leap from university to professional isn't that big of a leap. So that's what I mean. The distance between most of these sports, the amateurs to the pros, not a huge leap. But golf is a fucking crazy leap. Like percentages deep. Like I don't know if it's been quantified yet. I mean, you can look at just like average yardages. You know, if professionals are able to drive it, you know, 300 yards. I know as an amateur, I'd say moderate to low ability amateur. I think the best drive I ever hit was maybe 260, but like professionals are hitting well over 300 yards. And yeah, that's like let's just say like 100 yards difference. Like my average shot's probably going to be like 200, 220. So let's just say they're hitting 100 yards better. It's like a football field difference, right? Like that's such a big difference, puts you in such a different position as a golfer in so many different ways. And there's of course many other aspects of the game that are different and why they're shooting lower. And this goes for men and women too. It's just just such a big, major difference, like to the point where they're talking about like it's becoming such a problem that if they were to design a course that was built for professionals, no amateur would ever be able to play on it, like reasonably play on it. The length of the course would be so long, the difficulty, just again, it's such a big difference between pro and amateur. So you can always improve. Like it's a sport where you can play, and it's a sport you can play like well into older age too. You know, it is not tremendously physically demanding. I mean, if you want to be really good, it does help to be in physical shape, but John Daly is one of the best golfers of all time. And one of his like best stats was he played 18 holes, you know, drank 18 beers or whatever, fucking smoked 50 darts and drank 0 ounces of water, like just like got after it. So the guy wasn't necessarily the picture of health, but was a hell of a golfer. And it's an interesting sport that way because, you know, yes, it helps to be in physical shape, but you don't necessarily need to be, because like I mentioned, it's not necessarily a wildly physically demanding sport. Yes, you are doing a physical action. You are doing a closed action. You are initiating something and finishing through, much like a jump shot in basketball, you know, like a slap shot in hockey. It's a movement that you are performing that requires coordination and muscle contraction and all this stuff. So yes, like by definition, you know, you're doing something physical, but swing your swing. You know, if there's anything, if you're listening to this podcast, you know anything about golf, or if you don't, if there's anything you can take away from this, is you swing your authentic swing. Whatever feels best for you, and whatever is giving you the result that you are hoping for, at least 80% of that result, keep swinging that swing. It doesn't fucking matter what it looks like. I mean, I just went out with some of my boys from work, and we took some videos of our swings, and like I was doing something that I never thought I was doing at all, like until I saw it on film. And I mean, you know, I watched lots of film, hours and hours and hours of film in university, watching myself and seeing that. And it is such a great tool for what am I trying to say? For bettering your performance, for taking a good look and seeing exactly and making some of those connections with that kind of mind-body scenario. Because again, you know, I've kind of like, for myself at least, when I got into golf, it was somewhat hesitantly, because I never really played any stick sports, no swinging, no baseball, no hockey, no lacrosse or anything like that, where I'm like gonna have a stick in my hand. Everything, I played football, I played basketball, I played soccer. Everything was like kind of with my own 2 hands or 2 feet. So everything I know I've taught myself everything I know I've kind of taught myself. And I've had friends say stuff for sure. Don't get me wrong. I've had lots of friends help me out. But it's something that I kind of taught myself, and I've developed a bit of a swing that's been working, and it's been effective. And as soon as I saw it on film, it kind of, you know, I have all these different thoughts and different feelings about how the swing actually looks. It's not too pretty, but fuck it, it works. So that's the one thing, is that you can continue to do it as long as you swing your swing and don't push it too far. I mean, I like to walk. It's maybe somewhat controversial these days, but I actually prefer to walk. I mean, that's what the pros do. But I use a push cart. You just fucking send that thing around. You can go right to your ball. I feel like it's more efficient, especially when you're playing with more than one, with multiple people, which you usually are. You fucking take your shot and you can just like beeline it right to your ball. You don't have to worry about going to each person, finding each person. You know, you can each spend time going right to your own ball and swinging your shot. It's pretty fun. I like the movement of it. I feel like I stay warm. It gives me time to see where my ball is, see where the hole is, get a little bit of a better understanding of what the shot is. Yeah, it takes a couple more seconds to get to the ball maybe, but usually if the course is busy, you know, you kind of have to take your time anyway. So, it's, again, like I said, maybe controversial because I think I say it might be controversial because I see a lot of people use carts over walking, and then you have to pay extra for the carts. Fuck it. I mean, I bought my own push cart, but by now I got tons of use out of it. Like, it's paid for itself at this point. Especially if I was renting them at clubs, it'd be like $5 or something a shot. So fuck all that. Speaking of clubs, I got some beef to squash, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode, this part 2 again, because I know I talked about it a little bit in the first part, and you can go check that out. I'll put a link somewhere in this fucking episode. But I fucking hate this goddamn country club bullshit that's attached to golf. I just finished watching a OJ documentary. OJ's dead. So I watched this fucking documentary, and all of it was him playing golf with all of his fucking stupid white friends, and it was all this country club shit, and it just reminded me about the fucking part of golf that I hate. You know, I love golf. I love playing it. I love the sport. I think it should be in the Olympics. Fuck it. It's a sport, man. It's tough. It's fucking hard. But I hate the fucking country club aspect. I hate the elitism that is associated with golf because it gives it such a bad name. Yes, it can be pretty rough for the environment. Don't get me wrong, like with pesticides, and potentially we could, grow crops on the land or do some shit like that, whatever the people say against it, environmentally. But it's fucking trees and grass still, man. Like, it's not that bad of all the things that we do to the goddamn environment. You know, a few golf courses here and there, a few mowed down parts of the thing. Yeah, a couple of pesticides come out. Fuck the bugs. Fuck the plants. But the ones that remain are there, and they're fucking living, and they're green. The world's dying. Who cares? Let's fucking go play golf. You know, a buddy of mine at work was like talking about playing frisbee golf, and like, I've never played. It seems fun as fuck. Like, the course that we've been playing has frisbee golf out there. I've seen it around. There's a course in Hamilton that's supposed to be sick. A bunch of my buddies play. I've never played. But he was like putting down like regular golf, and I was like, come on, man. Like, you're playing frolf. Like, it's a little bit different, but like, shit, man. We're doing kind of the same thing. And that's what his argument was, is like, it's the same thing. You still get the same feeling. But like, again, golf it's a sport of, if football is a game of inches, golf is a game of fucking micrometers, little tiny adjustments, little tiny things that you do to your swing that makes dramatic changes, little tiny changes that make dramatic effects occur to that fucking little ball that's just sitting there. Like Kramer said, the ball's just sitting there and I fucking can't hit it. No. But like, the different lies, the different conditions, whether it's dry, whether it's too hot, whether it's sunny, whether it's rain the day before, all these different things all kind of coalesce into all these kind of like micro computations that you're constantly making in your head, trying to determine, what's going on. You have 18 holes to play, so there is room to make adjustments. Don't get me wrong. Not all is lost if the first 3 holes are bad, but it gets pretty tough. Like I'm shooting like 100, 105 pretty consistently. Like that's like my where I'm shooting. I've shot in the 90s when I was playing a lot of golf with my brother Julian. Him and I were getting after it. I was shooting in the 90s a little bit more consistently. It's hard to, I can't say I officially broke 90, but there was a couple times where I did put like an 89 or an 87 on the card. Yeah, maybe I might have been a little bit gracious with a couple holes there, and it might have been like a shorter course here or there. But like this year, we played this like really short track, like super, like a lot shorter holes, and I shot, I think, a 37 or something like that, which again is like very out of my character, but I played really well, and it was like one of my first rounds back, and I think that's why. Because as we were talking about before, golf is this thing that's like it's this mental game. There's such a major mental game, and there's a thing that we talk about a lot when you're in the studio and when you're recording music or playing music for that matter. If you're thinking, you're stinking. And that basically means, if you're thinking too much about what you're going to play, it's not going to sound good. Art comes from a place of ability and talent and skill, but art that exists in the moment, like sport or music, or even a painter when they're actually creating their paint, when they're actually creating their painting, their piece, that moment has to be relinquished, if you will, to the powers that be. The moment, the present, the sporting gods, the music gods, however you want to put it, whatever makes you comfortable. All that skill and effort and preparation is only a means to that moment, and then that moment has to be taken by your own creation, your own creative skill, which almost doesn't actually belong to you. If you become a channel at that moment, and the channel, and you open yourself to whatever the cosmic perspective is, wherever that music comes from, wherever that artwork comes from, wherever that creativity in your sport exists, when you're executing that skill for in that moment, when you're swinging your swing, you shouldn't be thinking about anything at all. You should just be, all you're worrying about is executing that thing that you've done a million different times. In that moment, you've made your decision, you've made your plans, you're sticking to it, and you're trying to put that into the world. And when you end up doing that in golf, again, anyone who knows this, and if you don't, it's hard to explain, but when you finally make connection and you finally hit that ball exactly where you wanted to hit it, and it lands exactly where you knew it was going to land, you're hooked. You'll always want to play golf. I mean, the way I got into it was, I've tried many times over the years to play golf. My cousins up north love golf, but I just like being a taller guy. I actually need extended clubs. So what was happening, just probably from my own swing mechanics too, but just because I'm a taller guy, I was constantly topping the ball, was hitting the ball too high, and it just didn't go anywhere. I never really made good contact. I could putt a little bit, but that's about it. So my buddy Lep's getting married. My buddy Lep was getting married at the time. This is like back in 2019. He's getting married, and I'm invited to the bachelor party, and he goes, "We're going golfing. Like, it's a big golf trip." And like, most of these guys are pretty sick. My one buddy Benny was going to come, and he's like actually a very, very good golfer, like really cool, like really good, like legit golfer. Again, talk about amateurs. One of the best golfers. Benny's one of the best golfers I ever played with. And yet like a professional is however many strokes again. It's wild. Like, to think that there'd be someone like night and day better. Crazy. So anyway, I get to, it's 2019. I'm like, all right, I'm going to fucking play. I'm going to fucking get some clubs. I'm going to figure this out. I don't want to go and just like completely like look like an absolute shithead in front of these guys. Like, one of the guys is like fucking in the NHL, like was a good golf. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so we're balling. I get some clubs. I'm like, all right, I'm going to just go buy some piece of shit clubs from fucking Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji or something like that, and just get them extended at Golf Town or whatever. And that's the thing, is you got to get them extended, which is like, you know, $5 a club. And then you got to get new grips on all of them. So it's like another 15. So it's like $20 a club just to like get them like to fit. And that's not even like properly fitted too, because you have to like adjust like lie angles, and that affects the loft and blah, 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 blah. So it's like a bit of a fucking ordeal. So anyway, I go to Golf Town with my fucking $60 set of clubs. And the guy looks at him and he's like, so what do you want to do? I tell him the plan. And he picks up one of them and he's like, I don't know if it's worth it. And he just he grabs the head and grabs the grip, twists the grip, and just takes the head right off. Like, no problem. And I was like, fuck, man, this sucks. Like, what the hell? Like, not that I got duped, but again, just like, what the fuck? This guy sold me like pieces of shit clubs, like, obviously. And I didn't know what clubs were like. I was like, shit, these look fine. The price is right. And I go, and he goes, all right, man, give me a second. Let me go look in the back, because I'm all fucking sad. He can tell. I'm like, oh, fuck. He goes, hold on, let me go in the back. And he pulls out these Pings, which is a really good company, if you don't know. i3 Pluses. So they're from 2003. So they're pretty fucking old now. But he pulls them out, and they were already extended, already lie adjusted. And it was like, fuck, man, these are good. He gives me the 7-iron. He's like, go try it out. I go fucking hit it in their little like golf simulator tester thing. And I fucking hit it 150 yards or something like that. I don't even know exactly how far I hit. I swear I hit it 156. Like, I looked at the thing, which is like pretty decent. But again, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did nothing. Even back then I was probably swinging some jackass swing. But I fucking took it, and it hit nice, and I was like, this is it. Boom, $110 later, I grabbed the set, which was a killer deal for this set. He probably just knew he was never going to sell it. Ended up buying a driver and a wedge off this great website called Golf Avenue. They have nothing to do with my podcast, but check them out, golfavenue.ca, Canadian company. They're fucking wicked for used clubs. They always have sweet deals. You can like trade your old ones in. But I grabbed a driver off there, which was like, in hindsight, a little bit of wasn't a very forgiving driver. It's not necessarily like the best beginner driver, if you will. So I had my work cut out for me. Don't get me wrong. But I grabbed all that stuff, and then I was able to play when I was, at the time I was still working at a brewery in Dundas called Sean and Ed's, and one of my coworkers and one of my buddies at work, he was almost on the Mac golf team. Like, he was one of the last cuts of the Mac golf team, McMaster here at University in Hamilton, their golf team. So he's a very, very good golfer. Like, he would like consistently shoot in the 70s. And him and I went out a couple times before I went to my buddy's bachelor. And then I went out to that and had a great time and was basically kind of hooked from there. And, you know, went out and had the opportunity to continue to play with my buddy Calvin from work, who was helping me out with a bunch of stuff. And he taught me a lot of great things. And again, it's a sport where I feel at times I was one of those naysayers, like my buddy at work. I was one of those naysayers against golf, and it was because I never played before. And again, I wish we could continue to separate the uppity elitism of the sport and let it be much more inviting and much more open and much more accessible to a lot of people. Like, it doesn't have to be so fucking formal. You know, don't worry about like a lot of places are starting to drop dress codes and things like that. But again, like it is so fun. It's so satisfying. It's a sport. You do have to, I think maybe the formality kind of also lies in the fact that you do have to kind of be fucking serious about it, because you can kind of hurt somebody. Like it's pretty easy to hit a golf ball improperly and it fucking hit someone in the head or in the face or somewhere, God knows, and do some serious damage. So you always have to be careful, you know, call your shots wherever you are. If you're at a new place and you know, you hit a shot and it's going out of bounds, you don't know what's out there, yell a 4. Yeah, it might hit someone, but if you don't yell 4 and it hits someone, man, it's so bad. Like, I've been in a ton of situations where balls kind of zinged past me and no one's called 4, and it's fucking pretty frustrating. You know, there's keep the pace of play up. If you hit your ball, you can't find it, you know, don't worry about buying super expensive balls if you're just getting into things. Hit your ball. If you can't find it, drop a new one. Keep it playing. Again, you're not going to turn your card into the PGA. Don't fucking worry about it. Keep it going. It shouldn't be more than fucking 4 hours to play. I think everyone's with me on that. You know, I think we can all work together. If we work together and start using cruise control on the highways and stop tailgating each other and you know, get out of the fast lane and let people rip, there'll be less traffic jams. And if we all just kind of play our golf game, and, you know, if it goes out of bounds, this is one of the things Calvin taught me. Again, this is for the beginners out there. If you shoot it way out of bounds, you know it's gone for sure. Don't even worry about dropping another one. Just fucking walk up to where you think it went out of bounds and drop there and fucking keep hitting as if the ball just landed miraculously right there, and just keep it ripping. Swing your authentic swing. I think everyone's with me on that one. Bagger Vance, Tiger Woods, y'all. Thank y'all for listening. Check out our YouTubes. Check out our fucking Instagrams and the Patreons. Love y'all. Get out there and swing them. We'll see you soon. Peace.